This morning there was news that the President of the United States is going to engage in a series of speeches around the country to discuss the American middle class and the economy. I think that's actually a positive thing to start to focus on that a little bit. The American middle class is the essence of America's greatness. I've said this often before because I'm a product of that middle class, that working class, of how critically different that makes us from the rest of the world. Every country has rich people, and unfortunately every country has poor people. But one of the things that distinguishes America from the rest of the world is that we have this vibrant middle class. I have lived that in my own lives. You know, my parents were working class people and came to this country with not a lot of education or many connections. But they were able to provide for us a lifestyle where they owned a home and were able to do vacations and even, provide us everything we needed, not always everything we wanted, of course. That really distinguishes the country from the rest of the world. That vibrant middle class is the essence of our economic exceptionalism. So I'm glad the President is focused on the middle class, and I hope that we will begin to focus on the middle class here in our conversations as well. And it's why I come to the floor to speak to you about the middle class for a moment, because I'm very concerned about the impact that the health care law, ObamaCare, is having on the middle class. Now, I know that Republicans have been opposed to ObamaCare from the very beginning. And I understand that a lot of people out there see Obamacare as a bill that's going to give you access to health insurance that you may not have right now. But what I want hopefully people to understand from a nonpartisan basis, Republicans, Democrats, Independents, no matter who you voted for in the last election, that Obamacare is not working out the way it was advertised. And in fact, what I want to point to today is how Obamacare is actually hurting that vibrant American middle class that the President is trying to focus on in his speeches, and that I hope we will be focused on in our policies. So last week on Friday, I traveled to Central Florida. I actually went to a place called Gatorland, which is a tourist attraction, kind of an old Florida tourist attraction where kids have gone for a long time with their parents to see gators, live alligators, and the shows they put on. And I used that as a forum to meet with several small businesses in the region, not all tourist related. And I had a chance to sit down and talk with them about their concerns regarding Obamacare, and importantly, what it means not just for their business. These are middle-class businesses, by the way. We're not talking about billionaires here. But more importantly for me, the impact it was going to have on their employees, the people that work for them, working-class, middle-class Americans who happen to live in Florida and work at these places. Now, first I heard from the owner of Gatorland, who basically pointed out that he has a little bit over 100 full-time employees that work for him. You can imagine what I'm talking about, the people that take your tickets when you walk in, the ones that run the exhibits. These are everyday working class people. Some of them are young people that just got married and are trying to start a family. He gives them insurance. They have insurance right now. And he pays a portion of their premiums and they pay the rest, and they seem to be pretty happy with that insurance coverage. It's not perfect. They have to pay for it out of pocket. But it's part of it. But it's coverage that they are happy with. And through that coverage, by the way, they have a relationship with a doctor. Young couple, for example, the wife is a few months pregnant. They've been going to the same OB/GYN. You get comfortable with this doctor. You're happy going to this doctor. Maybe it's the same doctor that helped you with your previous pregnancies, or your kid's pediatrician that knows your family's history. So every time you sit with them, you don't have to re-educate them. The point is someone that you're happy with and your insurance, and also a doctor that you're happy with. But there's a problem. Healthcare costs and premiums are going up for this business. As they're sitting here looking into next year and beyond, their companies are already telling them, our premiums are going to go up. We can't tell you yet by how much, but it's going to be by at least this much, which means the amount of money they put aside every year in their budget, in Gatorland's budget, to pay for health insurance for their middle-class employees is going to go up big time. So this business has to find the money from somewhere. Now, one is they could just raise the price of admission, but they really can't do that. Number one, people can't afford it. Number two, they have some pretty significant competition nearby in Disney World and Universal Studios, so that's not really an option for them. Their options are as follows. Number one, they can take the insurance they're providing now for their employees and get rid of it. Replace it with another insurance that's cheaper and covers less. By the way, now it's a new insurance. So these middle-class employees, they're happy with the doctor they're going to. That doctor may or may not be on the new plan. So now you destroy that relationship as well. It'll be a cheaper insurance for the employer and the employee, but it'll cover less, but it meets the mandate. And obviously, Gatorland can continue to operate. The second option they have is just to reduce a bunch of people under 30 hours. Because if they're working less than 30 hours, you don't have to offer them anything. That's a big cost savings. They don't want to do that, as proven by the fact that they're offering the coverage now, but they may have to do that. Their third option is to just pay a fine, and let these people go out and find their own insurance in the exchanges. The problem with that is, number one, the exchanges haven't even been created yet. Even though you're supposed to be enrolled beginning October 1st, they don't exist yet, so you can't even figure out what they are if you live in Florida. And number two, again, the same problem. It's a new insurance company, which means you may or may not have the same doctor. A fundamental promise of this law when it was passed is if you're happy with your doctor, you won't have to lose that doctor. If you're happy with your insurance, you can keep it. Obviously, for about 100 and some odd people that work in Central Florida, that is not true. I also met with a young lady named Gigi Barrios, a young woman. She is the owner of something called FCS Building Services. Basically, it's that company that provides janitors at night to come up and clean up your office. This is the epitome of the working class. You know what I'm talking about? The people that come in after 6 o'clock and vacuum the carpets and come in and clean your offices. These are her employees. She also offers them health insurance. But her health insurance premiums are going up next year big time. She's going to have to go through the exact same choices as Gatorland. So right now in Central Florida, there are janitors and janitorial crews who are working more than 40 hours a week, have health insurance that they're happy with, have doctors they have relationships with, and they are on the verge of losing all of that because of this law and because of its impact. I met with another owner of a place called Fun Spot. Fun Spot is another attraction place, one of these old Florida attraction places. They actually, after 5 years of working in Fun Stop, you get 100% coverage. If you work there for 5 years, they pay all of your insurance. You don't pay a penny out of your pocket. But their costs are going up bigger than anybody else that was meeting there, astronomical. Same calculation is going to happen. They're going to either have to find a new and cheaper insurance, which means people that have full coverage 100% and are happy with it and love it are going to lose it. In Florida, these are ticket takers and ride operators and people that clean up. These are middle-class, working-class Americans. They will lose their coverage. I can tell you they're not going to pay 100% of anyone's coverage moving forward because even if they wanted to at this point, and they do want to, they can't. They can't afford it. The premiums are going up because of Obamacare. Or they could come up with one of these newer plans that's cheaper and costs less money, but the same fundamental problem we're talking about. Now, you may say maybe this is a Florida problem. It is not. The U.S. Chamber of Commerce recently did a survey. They found that 75% of small businesses in America are going to have to do something like this. In their survey, they found that 27% of small businesses are going to cut hours just to get under the 30 employees to avoid the health insurance mandate because they can't afford it. 24% of small businesses are going to hire less people, which is one of the problems at Fun Spot. They actually own land that they want to expand to. They want to grow Fun Spot. They want to grow more rides, more attractions, more middle-class, working-class jobs. That's not going to happen now. 24% of companies are going to hire less because of it. 23% of companies plan to replace full-time employees with part-time employees. The Congressional Budget Office has found that 7 million people in America, at least 7 million people, are going to lose employer coverage that they have right now. At least 7 million Americans have the promise that was made to them is going to be broken. You have insurance, you're happy with your insurance, you're going to lose your insurance because of Obamacare. 5 million people will have to pay for more expensive plans because of Obamacare, but because they make too much, according to the law, they won't qualify for a subsidy to help pay for it. It's not just businesses, by the way. Brevard County, I have the article here, in case it turns out not to be exactly as I say it. This is from Florida Today. Some part-time Brevard County workers in Florida are getting their hours cut so that the county would not be forced by federal law to pay for their health insurance. In fact, the Brevard County Library Services Department Director Jeff Thompson said 37 of his department employees have had their hours cut as a result of the health care issue. Library Services Department, middle-class jobs. This is the middle class. They're going to lose hours. I don't care if you're a Republican, a Democrat, an independent, who you voted for in the last election. This is a disaster for all of us. And rather than digging in and saying, I'm going to fight till the death on this law because it has my name on it, because it was my signature achievement in my first term, I wish the president and the White House was more open-minded about saying, you know what, this is not working out the way we thought. This is going to hurt way too many people at a time people are already hurting. Let's put the brakes on this, or let's redo this thing. Let's get rid of this and start over. But they don't seem to be focused on that. They claim to be focused on the middle class, and yet we know millions of middle-class Americans, and a few hundred that I know now personally in Florida, are going to be dramatically hurt by this law. And yet it's full speed ahead. That's outrageous. We have one last chance, I think, to stop this if the White House won't cooperate. And that's through our budgeting process. We are probably going to have to pass in September here a short-term budget to move forward into the next year. And a lot of my colleagues love to say that they're against Obamacare. But if you vote for a budget that pays for Obamacare, that pays for these things I've just described, you have voted for Obamacare. Some will say, well, that's crazy. You're going to shut down the government over Obamacare. No, what's crazy is moving forward with this thing. After all the problems, this is just the tip of the iceberg. I only have 10 minutes. I could be here 6 hours describing all the problems with Obamacare. Moving forward on that is what's crazy. What's crazy is arguing that the only way we can move forward with a budget is if it includes Obamacare. What's crazy is shutting down the government because the budget doesn't pay to implement this outrageous and broken system. We need to wake up and realize what's happening. This is hurting the American middle class. And if we lose the American middle class, we lose what makes our economy different and special and unique. And so, Mr. President, as you travel around the country this week, as you come to Jacksonville, Florida on Thursday, I hope you will also explain to the American people how it is that you can justify cutting hours, cutting benefits, and taking away health insurance, and taking away existing health insurance and existing doctor-patient relationships away from millions of working class and middle class Americans who are going to be hurt by this law because of your refusal and the refusal of many of your allies to consider suspending this or permanently repealing it and replacing it with something better.